I recently had some issues with some small whiskey barrel water features, the water turning this kind of blue tint, and I wanted to design a small filter, to tackle the issue, and I did do that successfully, and it then led on to me sort of expanding it and making them slightly bigger and using them on my larger pond in different ways. So this video is really going to discuss the process I went through and then how I used them on my larger ponds. I then realised that they're quite good oxygenators as well, because the small diameter of the tubing creates quite a fast funnel of water. So with that length of tubing, you can cut it short underneath the water, so it's pushing upwards, creating a quite a distortion on the surface. You can see in the back there, or you can position the tube so it's flowing quite fast across the surface, and it works as a bit of an oxygenator, much like a air stone. So if you're looking for a small filter for a container pond, or just something to create a bit of extra oxygen in one of your larger ponds, and you can place it in a dead spot, stick with the video and I'll show you the process I went through. As you can see, there were two whiskey barrels with the issue, one either side of that water feature in the middle. So I decided to build two different filters and put different filter materials in each one, just to experiment and see which one did better. All you need is a 1 litre pond plant pot, one of these small water pumps you can buy off Amazon, and some length of flexible tubing that will fit over that pond pump attachment. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut a section out of the side of one of these pots with a Stanley knife. Now I want the suction part of this pump, the part that sucks the water in, I want it inside the pot, as central as possible really. What this will achieve is once that media is in there and the pump's turned on, it will hopefully pull the water through the media evenly. You cut the hole with a Stanley knife slightly smaller than I think I need it. Then I've got the pump again, lined it up there, and then with some tin snips, you can probably do this with a Stanley knife again if you want. I've then cut again, because what you want is quite a tight fit. When you push that in, you want it to be relatively tight, and you don't want too big of spaces going in there. So I'm going to be putting some pea gravel in there and some foam in the other one. So I don't want any of that media spilling out. Once you cut the hole correctly and you're happy with the position, the next step is to push the little attachment that comes with a pump in there and push your flexible hose in as well. The next step is to secure this in place. Now all you need here is a one single tie wrap. As you can see, there's lots of holes in this basket, and you simply pass through one of the holes, come back through the other side of the hose and pull it tight, and this will secure everything in place. Now I initially built two of these, both in 1 litre pots. I then moved to a slightly bigger pot, but I'll go through that a bit later on. Now the pump size I've got on here, I think it was 750 or 800 litres an hour. On the front of these pumps there's a little device you can spin round to adjust the flow rate. Now the two different types of media I'm going to use here, you've got some pea gravel here which is quite fine, which is quite good for trapping particles, and I'm going to use some foam as well with some larger rocks on top. Now you do want to wash the gravel first, so what I did is nick this out of the kitchen, I'm not sure what it's called but don't tell the missus, and then fill it up. Give it a little shake so the gravel spreads out evenly, so there's no sort of larger areas, or voids inside I should say. And the next one, I've got some of this old filter mat here which I'm just whipping up and pushing in there, and then topped it up with some larger stones. Now the length of the flexible hose you put on there depends on what you're going to use it for. I'm putting these in small containers, so I'm going to cut them off short, so I'm getting a nice sort of funnel of water going upwards and disturbing the surface, plus moving the water, oxygenating it. Now you can leave the hose a little bit longer depending on what you want. You can position it in such a way so it's near the surface, pushing the water across the surface, but I'll go into that a bit later on. That's got to the stage now I'm going to put them in both the whiskey barrels. Now I did spend about 2 months putting water in these barrels, taking it out, I cleaned them before, but I think the whiskey's still leaking out. I think that's got something to do with this blue tint here. And like I said before, I think the pump I had on here was about 750, 800 litres an hour. Now it's a bit too, powerful for something this size. You can get them in like a 300 would probably be better, but you can adjust it, so I've adjusted it down. Whenever you have a small body of water like this and you first set it up, it can be a bit of a struggle with water quality, algae, The best way to battle this is to have a pump really. Over time it will settle down, and with plants you will get it clear without a pump, but it is a battle. It's much easier having a pump. Now I left these both overnight for about 12 hours, and when I come down in the morning they'd cleared quite remarkably really. I would say the sponge one looks slightly clearer, but there wasn't much difference. The movement on the surface discourages mosquitoes as well. They like still water really. The one thing I really liked about these was the amount of movement of water on the surface. So I then made another one and placed it in my larger pond, and you can see there the movement on the surface. And next to that is air stones as well, and it's actually creating more movement on the surface than the air stones. So yeah, I put one in there as well. And the koi seemed to quite like it as well. They spent a lot of time swimming round it and over it. So not only are you getting a small amount of filtration there, and it'll eventually build up beneficial bacteria over time with the movement going over the stones. It's giving oxygenating the water as well. Now, one of the other concerns is obviously cleaning it. Like, how difficult is it to clean? And I simply turned the pump off, pour it out, run some pond water over there, use my hand to clean the sides. I mean, you're better off having a small brush to get the bits off the side really. Once you've done that, it's a case of cleaning the stones. Again, I raided the missus' kitchen and got this again. I'll have to buy myself one, I think, and just poured the water over the top and use your hands, move the stones about a bit. The whole process didn't take very long. It was quite easy really, and once you've done that you simply pour it back in. I did have a little bit of a blanket weed outbreak as well, and I was quite impressed by the way it didn't block at all, because you can find with a lot of pumps, the outer plastic casing can get blocked in some occasions. I noticed a lot of people sort of ask questions about that, so it led me to think that perhaps using a bigger container, a more powerful pump, you could actually use this to feed a filter system. These sort of small pumps I think only go up to about 1500 litres an hour, so it's going to be for a smaller pond, and on here I would use it for to trickle feed a like a bog filter or something along those lines as an additional bit of filtration. As you can see with the colour of water here, it did extract a lot of dirt out of the water. So my next step was to build one slightly bigger with one of these larger containers. They take 2 to 3 times more media than the smaller baskets, so you're getting a bit more beneficial bacteria there as well. With the baskets being bigger, I decided to tie wrap the pump more central and to the bottom of the container. Looking back here, I don't think this is probably necessary, but it's down to you how you do. You can do it either way. The idea being was to have the suction at the centre of the media, but as the pump is kind of blocking some of that suction anyway, you probably are better off having it over to the side, I believe. Once you've got the pump in position and it's secure, you've obviously got the cable here. I didn't really want it coming out of the top there, so what I decided to do was cut the side down to the bottom, cut a little slot in the bottom, and then the cable can go through there, and then it's a case of tie wrapping the basket back up again. There might be an easier way of doing that. I did think of removing the plug and making a hole, but the tie wrap method works. With the larger basket, you can have a shorter flexible hose on there and having it disturbing the water at the top, causing more water movement and oxygenating the water, and you've got the plus factor of having a few, probably 3 litres of beneficial bacteria there. On a bigger pond it's not going to make much difference, but on a small pond it can make quite a bit of difference. In some ponds you may find that you have a kind of bit of a dead spot where you can get bits of decaying matter accumulate. You could put one of these there, it's going to filter up that dead spot, and plus funnel a bit of water to the surface, oxygenating it. What I think I'm going to use a bigger basket for is a kind of pre-filter for a bog filter, so I'm going to have about 1000 to a 1500 litre an hour pump in there, and it'll be a pre-filter, and it will feed a bog filter of about 40 or 50 litres. I'm going to add that to my larger pond as an addition to the existing filtration system, because I think it's always good to have 2 filters running at the same time. You never know when you're going to have in this year, and one may pack up, and it may be a day or two before you can get it up and running again. So it's a kind of safety measure having two systems running at the same time. I think I'm also going to make one up for my 1500 litre fancy goldfish pond, and have a short hose on it, disturbing the surface just for a little bit of added filtration and oxygenation of the water. As I'm putting it in the larger pond with koi, what I'm going to do is top it off with some of these larger Scottish pebbles. It just makes it a little bit more difficult for the koi to dig in there, as they do like to have a little dig around. I've just run an extension lead to the side of the pond here. I'm just going to sort of like put that there just to show you what this does. If you look in the background there, just behind the pot now, you'll see that the water's been disturbed quite a lot there. That's one of the smaller 1 litre ones I've already got in there. See that cloud come up there? I probably didn't clean them as best as I should have, really. I placed the basket on a shelf there. It's probably only about 1.5 feet deep there. And the hose is quite long. It's easily long enough to touch the surface with a little bit extra on there. But this is a 750 litre an hour pump, I think, maybe 800 litre an hour. You can see it gives quite a nice jet of water. Now you can position that in various places. Obviously you could tie wrap it there, have some sort of bracket and tie wrap it. You could have it raised as a water feature. You can do whatever you want with it really, or you can cut it short and just having it disturbing the surface like in the one in the background there. There's a few different applications. I mean, if you've got a part of the pond you feel there's not enough flow in that particular bit, you can use a few rocks and lay them on top of that hose and angle the hose in that direction so you've got a bit of water movement in that part of your pond. There's a few different applications you can use. Well, that's it from me, and I hope you've learned something here or you can apply it to your pond and hopefully improve it. That's why I do these videos. They're just little things I do to my ponds. If I think I can help someone in some way and you watch them and it improves your pond and filtration, then great. Thanks and bye.